Pete here with the River Kings. It's time for another winter tarp review, and today it's going to be the Enlightened equipment Paladin. Okay guys, so I know the ridgeline is 12 feet, and as I like to do, I want about 1.5 feet wider on my tree set than the tarp ridgeline. And I can still get a good comfortable hang with the hammock, but what that does is keeps the lines from getting rained on a lot. It just makes it easy to anchor and easy on, easy off. I can do a longer spread if I need to. I have a 40-foot ridgeline, so I can get out there pretty good. But if I can get about 1.5 feet wider than the ridgeline with my trees, that's perfect. Another thing I like to do is get small trees in the area off to the side, not very far, because I like to do as few stakes as possible, and instead I like to string to the trees at the base, and then if I have my spreader tabs, I'll actually string out to the trees around it. Less to get out, less to put up, less to pull out in a heavy wind. And if you look up, there's no large dead trees looking to fall on me. Everything looks pretty good and healthy around here. There's a deer. 2 deer. All right. Okay, so with these winter tarp reviews, what I'm doing is kind of showing you the high quality hammock specific winter tarps that are out there from some of the better manufacturers, and the features on these that make them better, the things I like about these tarps, and maybe the things that could be better for me. And of course, what I've been using for about 10 years is a Kelty 16, which is kind of just a Kelty in general is a middle of the line, you know, price point company that delivers a very durable product. Kelty's not going to be the lightest weight option, but it is going to last you a long time. Now that being said, I usually don't get into tech specs with the tarps. I like to string them up and show you how they work well, show you the functionality and the capabilities of a tarp, not just numbers on paper. But with this particular tarp, you cannot ignore the specs. Let me start with the Kelty 16. It weighs 64 ounces. That's 4 pounds. So all you ultralighters, I just lost you. I know. Why have you been using that thing? Here's why. I lived in the woods year-round, over 100 days a year, and I needed to have shelter to the ground to keep in the warm, to keep the wind out, to cover stuff, because I wasn't just hiking and then laying in a hammock, then hiking more. I was living in the woods, and I needed some footprint to live under. Just like a 4-season tent, you have to be able to seal it off. If there's airflow, it's not 4-season, it's 3-season, and there's a million ways to do it. So my way is not the right way, the other guy's way is not the wrong way. It's just the way I like to do it, is to have my hammock in a 15 degrees warmer environment than just the outdoors. And I can achieve that through sealed doors and tarping to the ground. Now let's talk about that 64 ounces. That's heavy. The Paladin is coming in at a whopping 9 ounces. Ooh. 9 ounces, about 1/2 pound for your shelter. So that's amazing. That's pretty awesome. All right, guys. So going back to the Kelty 16, that's also a 68 denier fabric. And normally I don't talk about this. 7 denier, very thin. In fact, you can see through it. You can see my hand through the tarp. I guess you can see that. Okay, so that's the trade-off. You cannot have lighter weight material and have thicker material. So if you want a lighter material, you have to have a thinner material. And you do need to kind of mine this material a little more. So that being said, let's set it on up. Okay guys, I got the tarp all set up. It's a really pretty tarp. And this coyote color, it is pretty. I kind of like it. It's basically the same color as my underquilt, so that would match well for me if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not going to say I am, but if it doesn't match, I'm not going to buy it. I did use the tarp tensioners that they provided, and I just put my S-beaner around the tree. So if I was using this system as my permanent system, I would replace the S-beaner with Dutch hooks everywhere. I would have to see how that went, because I'm not a big fan of having all the cordage in with the tarp. It kind of makes it a little more difficult. I'd like to roll all my cordage up each time. I know I have everything, I know it's in place. It's just the way I like to do things. But I'm willing to give it a try, and I may do that on my upcoming trip where I'll be using these tarps, kind of field testing them. But I don't know. I'm not sure whether I'd like it, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. It's up for you to decide how you want to do it. But it is a really cool feature, I will give them that. It was neat, it was fun. The actual tensioning of it just is a wholesome feeling. Just a little piece of hardware that's working right. And I got to show you this feature that I really like. Basically, you have a loop and then one of these little guys. So you roll your door up. If I can do it one-handed here while holding the camera. Almost had it. There we go. And it is completely out of the way and secure. I love that feature. And if you don't want doors, you want more airflow, you can just leave it like this. If you want to leave it like that for getting in and out, setting up your hammock, that's also the way to do it. We'll move inside. Pretty good footprint. It's big enough to camp under, that's for sure. You kind of see me, I got my, again, I just string these kind of tarps about as high as my head. If I got the wall to the ground tarp, I go up as high as my hand can reach. Gives you a little more headroom. But again, the purpose of a tarp is to keep you warm and dry. And this has got enough footprint to actually live under. It's about a 4-foot sidewall. The negatives for me, just like every other tarp that's built this way, it's not big enough. I've got 3 feet to the ground. I could hang the tarp lower. I could pitch my walls in tighter to get these things close to the ground, but then I have less headroom and I still have airflow and I don't have as much footprint to live under. 50 inches, it's a 100-inch tarp. So you have about 50 inches each side, which is 4 foot 2 inches. So a 4-foot sidewall, that's kind of the minimal that I would ever use for, you know, a not warm weather tarp. You're just cramping your style too much when you get shorter than 48 inches. So this is 50. You still get the River King Pete stamp of approval. You can live under this tarp. The doors are actually a little smaller than the Superfly, which it's a little smaller tarp, but the way they cut the doors is a little bit smaller. Still serves its purpose. I would say that you would have to bring these walls in closer and further towards the ground if you wanted to have a good seal on that door, because that little spot of air, that's where all your heat's going. So this tarp is kind of, for me, your bare minimal winter tarp as far as what it offers you in coverage. But it looks like a fantastic tarp. It's obviously very well made. One of the features about this tarp I should point out is there's no seam over the ridgeline. The seams are both here on the side and they're fully seam taped at the factory. If there is trouble here, it should still just run down the tarp. It shouldn't drip on you. You'll have no drip ever above your head. There's no seam up there that could go wrong. Obviously, as you could probably tell, it's not a bright day and it's a little late in the afternoon, but it's still letting in a lot of light. So if you're the kind of person who wants a dark tarp, what? That's a thing. Some people they get a little picky about these things. They want a dark tarp so they can sleep better. They probably wouldn't like this color tarp or this tarp in general. Even on the darker colors, it's not going to be a very dark tarp. Me, I love the ambient light it gives out. It kind of just brightens my mood. You get down low and look up, it's kind of like a golden hue. I can definitely enjoy kind of hanging out under this thing. Let's put the hammock in it and see what it looks like. All right, guys, there it is. Like I say, this is a very pretty tarp, well built. It just has a good vibe to it. All right, so the end of my hammock to the end of coverage on the tarp is about 2 foot laterally. And I've got that on both sides. It's just about 2 foot from there to the end of the coverage area. But I gotta tell you, I'm kind of excited about this tarp, and this coyote color, now that I have it set up, is really growing on me. It's still very neutral for outdoors, which is what I like. I like a very neutral color that hides well. But it just lets so much light in, it just feels good. So again, plenty of room under here to live. It is, for me, a minimal size, but it does get the River King approval. Again, what I don't like about it is really no fault of the tarp, because this is the design they're going for, and the design they made is fantastic. I just wish the walls came all the way to the ground. All right, guys, so there you have it. That is the 12-foot Enlightened Equipment Paladin. I really like it. I'm excited about using it. I will be using it here in about 3 days. And Brian, River King Brian's gonna get some time under this one as well. We're gonna be trading off a couple of these tarps, giving them a proper field test. 12-foot ridgeline, 9 ounces, 7 denier silnylon, fully seam taped. It's got some pretty cool features. It's got just the right amount of tie-out points. It's got your little door loops to get your doors out of the way. It's got all the features you need. So if you're looking for the super lightweight option for some hardcore backpacking, space saving, super lightweight, and a silnylon package, that's a fantastic tarp. And it's pretty.